All right, we're recording.
Hi everyone. This is Cynthia, and welcome to the North San Joaquin Valley CNPS webinar series. Before we get started, I'm going to show you how this is our first English-Spanish hybrid webinar, and we're going to have a couple slides showing you how it works. So just if you don't care about translation or you don't care about Spanish or any other language, just want English, it's all going to be in English, but you don't really need to read these instructions. So what we're doing is Zoom has a real-time translation of English speech to Spanish captions, and actually to like 50 languages if you want to try something else. To do it, look for the CC button, that's captions, and if you can't find it, look in the more, and or make that bar bigger, because sometimes it kind of disappears sometimes. But look for the CC, this closed captions, and enable it. If you have any trouble finding it, put it in the chat, and Misty will help you, or Mike will help you. So you set your speech to English, which we're all speaking, and then translate to Spanish if that's what you want. To translate to some other language. All the speaking is in English. And we're also going to be able to show two screens during a toggle switch. The first screen, this will happen when our speaker comes on. The first screen will be her slides in English, and then when you toggle, you can see the same slides in Spanish. So look for, it should say show meeting somewhere, or this is the iPad. There's this little teeny box up here. It says screen share. You click on that. So it's going to be in different places on different machines, different app versions. So I'm going to repeat this info again before a bit later, and we will be putting it in the chat on a regular basis. Questions in English or Spanish, you can put them in the chat. So now I'm going to go to the Spanish slide, and Misty is going to.
Hello.
What happened here? There it is. Hey, Misty, who's all three of us are chapter members, and Misty is our Spanish language translator. So, Misty, you want to go over this, please?
Tenemos traducción en tiempo real. Hablamos en inglés, pero si quiere subtítulos en español, puede buscar el botón CC en la barra negra al bajo de la página. Okay?
Are you done? I mean, it's okay if you're done.
I wasn't hearing anything, so I stopped talking.
No, that's okay, because I've got my screen. My screen has the Spanish.
Oh, okay. Pues.
I'll be trying the Spanish. Okay, so that's what it is. I'll be showing the screen again. I'm also going to put right now in the chat my presentation, which is just an intro presentation, but it has this info if you didn't quite catch it, or you wanted to try it out later or whatever. Wait. Everyone. So this is just a link to my slides, because of course I'll be moving on and I'll be finished pretty soon. All right, so here's the regular beginning. So welcome to our North San Joaquin Valley CNPS webinar series, the 2030 event. Our speaker is Denise Godbout-Avant, and I'll be telling you more about her shortly. The talk is Indigenous Peoples' use of California native plants, and there it is also in Spanish. And this is a perfect day, of course, because October 14th is Indigenous Peoples' Day. So just a quick agenda here. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about the webinar series, and Mike is going to talk about CNPS and our chapter. Misty will be doing the translation in the chat, so you can type in Spanish, and she will translate it for our speaker. I've got this bar in the way here. This is good. Our speaker is Denise Godbout-Avant, and the event is recorded and it's uploaded to our channel, along with pointing to slides and everything. I mean, everything's there. And I usually do that within 2 days after the presentation. These are just a list of past webinars. These are all in our YouTube channel, but I just thought I'd kind of quickly have you just look them over, and I see there's kind of something for everyone. And if you go to that link I gave you, you can actually just scroll through them. But again, you can just go to our YouTube channel. So these were just the last two, just to show you kind of the last two. And here we are today. Indigenous peoples use of California native plants. Uso de plantas nativas de California, pueblos, and indigenous. Our next coming up in November is part 2 of the extremely popular talk. It's reliable California native plants for garden with no irrigation. So he didn't get to finish because it was so long, and Christoph's going to come back and finish it. If you're going to go to this, you might want to go watch the first part first, and you can sign up now at cnps.org/events. Oops. So we got some upcoming webinars. I am looking for something for March, especially if you want to make a presentation or you want to recommend someone. January 13th will be the status of Mexican native plants, and February 10th, status of insects. Blah blah blah. So both of those are going to be very exciting. We also have on April 14th, how to build a community around native plants. And then our very own Misty is going to give a Spanish language talk in September about edible native plants of California. So we're also looking for more Spanish speakers that can speak in Spanish about some native plant topic. Here's our YouTube channel. Just to let you know, it's at nsjv_cnps. This is just an overview. Of course, all our webinars are free. They're all recorded. They're always the second Monday evening of each month, except for December. You got an idea? Let me know. Okay, now I'm just going to go back quickly to these slides. I'm not going to stay on them, but just these are ones I gave at the very beginning. And this is how to do the Spanish, get the Spanish translation and caption text. But I put a link in the chat to my presentation. Okay, so next, Mike is going to talk. Mike, you want to take the screen?
Yeah. All right.
Mike va a hablar en inglés, pero la porción con el español sigue.
Ready? Okay.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah.
So I wasn't sure she was going to be done.
It's okay, though, because they could go to the closed captions in Spanish, right?
All right.
Right?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and tell them they can put any questions in the chat.
In the chat, yeah.
All right.
Just tell the Spanish speakers that this is why they can use closed captions.
Hi, I wanted to give you an introduction to our chapter, the North San Joaquin chapter of the Valley.
Hey, Mike, I'm not seeing your screen.
Oh, you're not? Oh, maybe I'm. Is it?
Okay. Try again. Yeah, there it is.
You found it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it because of being up on top up there?
I just turned off my share. Maybe it can only do 2.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. All right. Hi, I wanted to give you an introduction to our chapter, the North San Joaquin Valley chapter of the California Native Plant Society. The California Native Plant Society is a statewide organization, and you can join it for a regular individual membership of $50 to receive Flora and Artemisia magazines, get benefits such as discounts at certain nurseries, sales, and such, and the ability to join 2 different chapters of CNPS. If you'd like to join North San Joaquin Valley chapter and one other, such as the Santa Clara Valley chapter, the Sacramento chapter, or others, it will be an option when you go to the link on this slide, which is cnps.org/membership. And speaking of Flora magazine, the latest edition had an article about a native. Maybe it wasn't the latest edition. Let me move on because I put that in there a little while ago. We hope you join us here in the North San Joaquin chapter and whichever other chapters you feel a kinship with. I said the membership was $50, but there is an option to choose other price options, and higher membership levels are available for those who are able to help the organization more financially. It's a great cause. The regular membership link is right there, cnps.org/membership. Remember, this is the link to join up. I should point out that the long bar at the bottom labeled Other is for those who want to choose another amount. And notice the bottom of that barrel is actually $25. Not everyone can afford $50, but we have removed membership level titles, and that includes the low income level. If you want to join for $25 with the magazines and all, but you can't afford $50 membership, we still want you to have the opportunity to join us. Just fill in that amount, minimum of $25, and you're in. And we have a newsletter ourselves, our chapter does, that we send out several times a year. We have articles about native plants, field trips, and virtual events and things like that. We have all kinds of interesting articles, and so that's available to you as well. And we have coming up a field trip, the Nature Walk at Horseshoe Loop Recreation Area, October 26, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Horseshoe Loop Recreation Area, 14876 to 14998 Orange Blossom Road in Oakdale. Experience the beauty of autumn on a guided nature walk along the river at Horseshoe Loop Recreation Area. As we stroll through the vibrant fall colors, keep an eye out for the lively woodpeckers and the other wildlife that make this area their home. The event is perfect for nature lovers of all ages, offering a unique opportunity to connect with the local environment and enjoy the seasonal changes in the landscape. Whether you're a plant person, bird enthusiast, or simply looking to appreciate the stunning fall foliage, this walk promises to be a refreshing and educational experience. Bring your family and friends, and let's explore the wonders of nature together. We look forward to seeing you there. And the North San Joaquin Valley chapter of the Native Plant Society, we are having a chapter fundraising plant sale. It will be held at Blossom Hill, California, the Blossom Hill Native Plant Nursery in Oakdale, California, once again for 2024. It's happening on Saturday, October 26th from 9 to 2. 25% of all sales donated go to our chapter. For further information, maps, directions, and future updates, please check the link that is shown in the black box on the graphic below. Take a screenshot if you want. And if you cannot make that sale, in other words, on that day, you are welcome to come up to a week after the sale. Just mention our fundraiser, and the 25% will still go to the chapter. And by the way, it's the same day as that field trip I mentioned. And what the plan is when they're done with the field trip, everybody can simply go over. It's literally it's also in Oakdale. Both of those events are in Oakdale, so you can go from one to the other once the field trip is done. And then CNPS will be at the Stanislaus River Salmon Festival, November 9th at Knights Ferry. And I should point out that we intend to do everything by email. We recognize that there are some people who actually prefer U.S. mail, but we don't have the financial or volunteer base to put the newsletter out that way. CNPS has asked all chapters to find ways of reducing carbon, and saving all that paper is one of our contributions. So if this is a problem, please do let us know, but so far no one has complained. And if you are on our list, you should have received our newsletters, but if you somehow got missed, let me know by emailing me at at the email that I will be putting in chat, cnps.nsj.membership@gmail.com. We want our newsletter to get out to everyone. That's our mission, to promote native plants around our region, and our best way of doing that is to keep native plants on everyone's minds through through events and presentations and gardening. So we want to keep those of you who haven't joined the statewide organization in the loop, so that perhaps you can join us for an event or two and to remind you that we're here. And why do we care about native plants? We are finding out more and more each day about the true need to restore our environment as much as we can. The man who's been trying to explain the need for native plants with the most eloquence has been Doug Ptolemy, a professor from Delaware. He's written several books on this subject, all of which circle around the theme that we have been damaging out the environment dramatically, but that there is hope in native plants. 95% of all birds feed insects to their young. Caterpillars, an important component of that diet. And caterpillars cannot live on non-native plants with very few exceptions. Native plants are critical to the ecosystem, and a backyard with no native plants, and that is a devastatingly high percentage of them, are ecological dead zones. Planting native plants in our yards helps moths, butterflies, native bees, and other pollinators, and the web goes on and on. Our cities need not be devoid of butterflies, moths, and native bees. For more information about this, you can watch a 1-hour video that explains it all. This was a talk that was sponsored by our local Audubon chapters. I will be putting this link in chat as well. And by the way, Doug Ptolemy is going to be speaking in California in November. It's going to be at Oakland and in Santa Clara, at Santa Clara University. So if they haven't already sold out, they will be soon. Get your tickets as soon as you can. Again, you can use this link, and I will have that in the chat as well. Finally, if you have any questions during the presentation, please add them to chat. We'll do all the questions at the end. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over back to Cynthia.
Hey, thank you, Mark. Okay, so for those of you that were here at the beginning, you know that we're doing a Spanish-English hybrid presentation, and this is how you do it. And I'm not going to go through this again, but I put a link in the chat where you can actually go to these slides and look at how to do it. These slides are both in English and Spanish. Okay, now I'm going to introduce our speaker, which is Denise Godbout-Avant, and we're just super excited to have her here. She's done an enormous amount of research and speaking about the indigenous people's use of native plants. She's got a lot of does a lot of things. She's in the Master Gardeners, and but she's going to tell you all about it. She's also with the Great Valley Museum here in Modesto. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Denise. So
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. So let me
So you're going to show your screen.
my screen here. So give me a moment here. Let's go back a little bit.
Oh, I want to ask everyone. Someone said that the video and audio are kind of weak because there's a lot of people with their videos on, and we love to have your videos on. But if you could turn them off for now, maybe that will solve the problem. I'm personally not seeing that problem, but I know that some people were. Sorry, Denise.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we hear you good, but we don't see your slides.
Okay, can you see my slide, right?
No, I'm not seeing your slides.
Oh, you're not seeing my slide?
I'm going to turn my show.
I'm seeing her slides, but it's on her channel.
I am seeing her slides. I am in Lake County, and I am seeing her slides. Yes,
They're on her channel though. You have to go up a stop and click on her name at the top.
I'm seeing how California Indigenous use.
Right.
Native
Yeah, they're there.
Okay, can you see it now, Cynthia?
Hold on. Yes, now I can see it.
Okay, great.
This
If you're
whole
not,
is new
if
to
you're-
us. We haven't done this double screen, or apparently you can do a triple screen, so bear with us. Okay, Denise, please start.
Okay, great. Okay, first of all, thank you, Cynthia, Mike, Misty, and the rest of the California Native Plant Society for inviting me here. And I have what I hope is a good and interesting talk. So without further ado, let's get going. I am a master gardener, as Cynthia mentioned, and with Santa Claus County. For those of you that are in other parts of California or perhaps other parts of the country, California, most of the counties have their own master gardener. So the things I talk about as a master gardener extend to yours, but you have your own master gardener in your own county. But all of us, we extend research-based knowledge and information about home gardening, pest management, sustainable landscaping practices. We don't know everything. We go through an 18-week training program to become master gardener. We are volunteers, so we know how to find science-based information to help home gardeners. And as far as not knowing everything, I don't know everything about my topic today, how the indigenous people use native plants here in California. I have become very knowledgeable over the years due to my career at the Great Valley Museum at Modesto Junior College, and as a master gardener, my education background in botany, lots of reading, hooking up with people who are knowledgeable. I am not an indigenous person. Done a lot of reading also on science field trips. So over the years, I have accumulated a decent amount of knowledge, but and I'm happy to share this with you. But I don't know everything. So I do encourage at the end, we will have questions, and I hope I will be able to answer them. So let's get moving. The agenda is, I'm covering a lot of topics. The history, briefly, I will cover the history of the native people, habitat here in the Great Central Valley, and the various plant groups and their uses, how they were used, acorn, trees, bushes, various things for basketry, wetland plants, underground, weeds, grain, green, fruit, weapons, medicines, and seeds. And I will be giving at the very end some native plant garden and remembering the original people of California. And again, there will be questions at the end. And I believe they mentioned earlier, you can just put your questions in the chat box. Okay, so this talk is focusing on the Yoruba people of the Central Valley, because they were the primary people here, and that's where I live in Modesto, and that's the group that I know the most about, but not all about. And talking about the plants they use, but many California plants and their uses were also used by other indigenous people. A fraction of these hundreds of plants, the parts that were used and the way they were used, I'll be discussing. Now, I'm going to be covering all the plants. Something about
Denise,
history.
Denise, I need to interrupt you just for a moment. Misty, I'm not seeing the Spanish slides. Did you start sharing them?
Yes, I'm sharing.
yeah, they're there. I see them.
Okay, well, for some reason the share button
In fact, one of the things was that people are complaining that they're seeing the Spanish slides. If you are complaining about, if you're not seeing the right slides, way up at the top, the upper bar, you see where it says Misty's screen, Denise's screen. Denise is English, Misty is Spanish. So you click on whichever one. If you want Spanish, click on Misty. If you want English, click on Denise.
Oh, I didn't know that. Hey, we learn something every day. Yeah, there she's at the top. Oh my God, this is so clever. Yeah, so click on Denise for the English slides and Misty for the Spanish slides. Thank you, Mike. Okay, Denise, sorry, back to our
Yeah, I
program.
know this is all new for you guys, and there's gonna be some hiccups along the way. Yeah, so no problem. All right, so a little bit of history. The earliest people came over, excuse me, at least 15,000 years ago. Separate routes, in separate ways. Some along the Pacific Ocean, what's called the Kelp Highway, and others by the better known Bering Strait Bridge. They generally live in small villages, up to 1,000 people. And at the time of contact, it was estimated about 300,000 people lived here in what is now California. And as you can see from this diagram, we have a wide variety of groups, tribes, very diverse, a lot of commonalities between many of them. Central Valley would definitely have more commonality than those that live on the coast. The Yoket had more than 60 groups. This included what they call what we call today the foothill Yoket, Northern Valley Yoket, and Southern Valley Yoket. But there were small villages, different dialects up and down the valley. The reason we don't have much rain here, that's not news to anybody. But so that meant farming was not really an option. But the temperate climate, rich soil, provided with rich cornucopia of plants and animals, which allowed these people to live comfortably and generally peaceful lives, moving during the season to gather and process plant material as well as hunt and fish. What many people probably do not know is that there was a widespread trading network from all the way up north, south, east, west, over the mountains. So if you didn't have it, you can trade it from somewhere else. Having lived here for thousands of years, the Yoket and the other indigenous people acquired an extensive ongoing knowledge of virtually every plant in their area, where they were, how to use them, how to manage them to get what they needed. And this knowledge was passed down through the generations. As time changed, as the climate changed, drought, wet years, have changed things too, and they adjusted accordingly. Because some years the harvest would be really good, some years maybe not so good. Different plants might be good one year, while others will not be so good. And they adjusted and switched it to other varieties that they needed. They were the original master gardeners of California. Something that many people might not know is we tend to think of the original people as just collecting things in their environment. They did way more than that. They managed their environment, despite leaving really no obvious mark on the land. They influenced the plants in their world by influencing their size, structure, composition, the harvest of the plants they use. And these ways included controlled fire, tilling the soil, pruning, topping plants, which means cutting them to the ground, sowing seeds, weeding, and transplanting. All of the things that we do today in agriculture, they were doing it back then, but just differently, rather than farming plants like we do today. They just manage the ones that were around them. And plants evolve in response to what's going on around them, whether it is to their environment, the climate, bees, butterflies, insects, humans, they adjust accordingly. Things changed, started changing in 1592 when the Spaniards first showed up in Baja California and going as far north as Santa Barbara. But they just stopped along the way, basically said, wait, hi, we're here, maybe exchanged a few trinkets, and kept going. They didn't come back for almost 200 years in 1769, when soldiers and priests established the Presidio and a mission in San Diego. And that's when things started changing. So the Spanish mission padres came to convert them to Christianity and train them for life in European colonial society. By 1844, 75 years later, exposure to Spaniards and Mexicans, their population had been reduced by about half, from 300,000 to 150,000, largely due to contracted diseases, which they had no resistance to. And then another big change came along in 1848 when gold was discovered, which of course brought people from all over the world. So due to disease, destruction of their habitat, their way of life, starvation, forced labor, genocide, by 1870, the original people population had further decreased from 150,000 to about 30,000 in just 26 years. California became the 31st state in 1850. So I'm focusing on the habitat here in the Central Valley. We have several habitats: riparian, which is another word for rivers, oak woodlands. And oak woodlands, we're talking valley oaks, are used way by along the riverland. There are other oaks in the grassland, but the valley oak will be along the river. Grassland, the marsh, wetland, vernal pools, which are pools that exist only during the spring due to very hard soil and the water evaporates, and alkali sinks, which are found mostly in the southern end of our valley. Our valley looks very different than it did 250 years ago. Today, due to urbanization, farms, dams, drainage, invasive species, many of these habitats are greatly reduced from their form 200 years ago. Anywhere from only 5% to 10% of all these habitats now exist. This map here is from the Great Valley Museum, which is on the west campus at Modesto Junior College. And it shows the way the valley would have appeared around 1800, before it all began, and drainage and invasive species and so forth came along. And you might recognize down the southern end of our valley, Tulare Lake, which was a huge lake back then. And generally it's gone, but this past wet season it started appearing again. So now, finally, we are talking about the plants that the Yoka use in their everyday life. And it begins with acorns. This was the staple of their diet. Acorns are incredibly nutritious, very high in fat, carbohydrates, protein. And it was the valley oak was the primary source of acorn for the Yoka, because they were larger, had less tannin. Other oaks, such as scrub oak, live oak, black oak, were also a source of acorn, especially during low harvest years for the valley oak. But oak trees, like all fruit, seed-bearing plants, they have their good years and their bad years. Fire was used to clear the ground around the trees to make harvesting easier and to clear out smaller trees. Now, as I go along, I will be talking about all these different plants and how they're used. There will be a lot of overlapping. Processing acorn was a very labor-intensive project. They had to be gathered, dried, breaking open the nut, grinding, bleaching, storing, and cooking. Most of the people of the village would be involved. To make the flour, the acorns are ground with a mortar and pestle. Different size sifting baskets were used to create different size grain from coarse to fine flour. Acorns were very bitter because of the high tannin, so they would have to go through an extensive leaching process. And you can see in these photos where the first leaching, the water was quite dark, the next leaching lighter and lighter and lighter. It usually took anywhere from 4 to 7 leachings to get them to where that bitter taste would be gone. Of course, they can use jars like we do today. They use the flour for many different things, making mush, stews, stewed biscuits, pancake tortillas. The flour has very little flavor, so they would add all kinds of other foods to it, like seeds, berries, nuts, spices. I like what Hawaiians do with their luau, where they take a pit, put cake in it. They would do something similar. They would layer it with meat, plant, animal, more plant, spices, and so forth all the way up. Acorns were easily portable and can last for months if stored properly. 500 pounds of acorns per family per year was estimated to have been the annual requirement, which sounds like a lot, but there were a lot of oak trees and a lot of acorns. They stored the acorn, and it was quite interesting how they did it, building these huge granaries that could be up to 8 feet tall. And they used multiple plants in creating these granaries, including plants like wormwood, pine needles, and bay laurel to keep away the vermin. And each granary was estimated to hold about 500 pounds, perfect for a family. Other storage methods were used too, including subterranean lined pits or buried along stream edges the passing water would meet the cannon. After the European and American came here, when they started plowing the ground for their farms, they often came across the underground pits that have been left where acorn had been stored. So they're finding them quite often in the valley. Acorns weren't the only thing that they used from oak trees. One really cool thing are oak galls. And if you never heard of them, they're amazing plant adaptation. It's tiny, tiny wasps that lay their eggs in the oak trees near leaves and stems. And the trees, for reasons we don't really understand, create these galls. It's basically a nursery for the wasp when the egg hatch and the larva. There's food inside these galls for them to feed on. And ultimately they eat their way out of the gall as adults. Many different kinds of sizes and shapes of gall. Specific wasps lay specific galls on specific trees. So, green galls in the spring were crushed to make a juice for rinsing the eyes. Black galls for the fall were used as fuel and made into dye, ink, or decor and dye. Oak bark was moistened and made into a liquid for medicine, which was used for diarrhea. And oak bark was also made into dye to cure animal skin, used as clothing for their shelters, and they were used for fuel. And the green oak branches of the spring were tempered and make stirring sticks for food, and made into rims for support of their basket, and dry branches were used for fire. Other trees, redbud tree, gorgeous tree in the spring. Many use it. It was very much a favorite for basket making. The bark was split into strands and young flexible shoots were used. The inner bark was made into a red pie. But leaves, young leaves, flowers, and seed pods were eaten. Buds were eaten fresh or pickled. The flowers apparently were tart and slightly sweet, which added flavoring to food. parts, roots, and bark were used as remedies for dysentery and diarrhea. And in their controlled burns, they would singe the edges of the plant tip and to cause new shoots to grow, which is due for their basketry. The California buckeye. They would grind and wheat the nuts, again become white. The acorn, they would be bitter, and the meal was used to make a mush. Here's a cool thing. Unripe sea balls will be thrown into a damp stream to stun the fish so they can catch them. Dried staves, as you can see from the photograph down the bottom right, were made from branches. Staves are just like sticks, and used to make game for fire starters. And there's an example of a fire starter in the middle. Thinking of pine, the green cones would be knocked down, and the seeds would be roasted. And there was a resin that was on the outside of pine cones, which would be dried and used for storage joints and cuts. And a tea could be made for cough and colds. What pine had really nutritious tasting nuts, which were important source of food for the yolk as cranky seconds to acorn. They would harvest the green corn in late summer, roast them to burn off the sticky chick on the outside, and then seeds were removed and stored for the winter. Hoyan is a favorite plant of mine. It has beautiful red berries in the fall, which can be covered by birds as well as by locusts. The wood has many uses, including making tools, steam, or toys. It was a fuel that was used to smoke fish and also used in spiritual ceremonies. The red berries are eaten after boiling, roasting over coals, or drying in the sun. Tea was made from the bark and leaves, which was used for stomach aches. These bushes were actively managed by pruning and burning to produce bigger and bigger shoots and more fruit, larger and more fruit. Another bush is blue elderberry, which can get huge, but they were valued for these hard, straight, hollow stems. Greener branches were used for musical instruments, including flutes and clappers, and look down the bottom right hand of the screen. Sorry about that. Bottom right hand of the screen, the woman is holding a clapper here, and it's been cut part way down, and she tips it on her hand, and makes those two halves fit together, making a clapping sound. And here you can see some beans, they're kind of similar to dice beans. Here is the flute that they made here. Here is made with yarn, but in those days they would make their own twine from other plants, or maybe some deer hides. And then of course they collected berries from it too. And the fruit was eaten raw, baked, or dried. The woodier stems would be used for baking sticks after they had been beaten and tempered. Baking sticks were very important. The women had to spend a lot of time baking for root and corn. I'll talk about more about those later. Flowers were also edible. They could be steeped and made into tea for fever, cold, and upset stomachs. California light. The cool thing about this is the flowers, when you rub them together in a little water, they lather. So they were used as a soap. Seeds were used for food. The leaves were used for smoking. The roots and bark were used as astringent, expectorant, tonic for cough, bronchitis, and asthma. The red roots make a red dye. And here is a rattle made of cocoon, made by a silk moth. And they would collect these and the larva inside would dry out and it would shake it and make a noise. California buckwheat. If you're a native plant gardener, you might be familiar with this. It's considered a keynote species. It's important to so many others, but it's found in the drier areas in the Central Valley, especially the southern end. The seeds were used for food. Today we use a Spanish word called pino, but they had a different name for it back then. But it's a form of meal made from parched acorn, other nuts, seeds, wild grains. It could be eaten raw or ground into a flour, used in porridges, soup, red light taste. For the seed, a number of uses. Seeds were also made from the leaves or headache, stomachache, flour and root to treat heart issues. The roots were used for making poultices for wounds and cuts. The stems and roots were used for cold, cough, menstrual issues, and headaches. So again, here's a plant that has lots of multiple uses. Manzanita. Again, another bush that had multiple uses. Red berries were eaten in large quantities, were dried and stored for winter use, or they were eaten fresh. The unfermented cider was made from equal parts of crushed berry pulp, and water was the most, combination of berry pulp and water was the most common use for the manzanita berries. You can see these lovely red berries. It's often known as the Christmas bush when the berries come out late winter. The seeds were beaten into a flour and pressed into cakes. The black dye was made from the suey, burnt roots, and infusion of bark and leaves was used for syphilis. And in a boil, manzanita wood has lots of oils in it, which is one of the reasons why it burns so easily. Was used for skin infections, including poison oak inflammation. The shrubs will be burned to increase fruit production for the following year, because it's one of those plants that like fire. Not fire. Mountain mahogany. It's a small tree or shrub that's common in the foothill chaparral area. A hardwood was important to build it as a digging stick, which would be hardened. It was also used for making tools. And again, there was a bark that was used to treat colds and make a purple dye. So some other uses and other bushes, straight branches of some young shrubs made the best material for crafting arrows, particularly those that grew away from water sources. You can see a photograph here of some really nice straight branches. So these branches, the larger ones were used to make bows, the smaller ones for arrows, and the bark would be twisted into a bowstring. These plants were pruned and burned 1 to 2 years prior to harvest to produce greater chaff. A number of plants were used for these, including mock orange, which I have shown here, alder, gooseberry, hazelnut, mountain mahogany, and flannel bush. The interesting thing about flannel bush is, if anybody's ever been around them, you know they have these fuzzy little hairs, which can be really, really itchy. But presumably they found a way to work around it. Don't know how, but they must have. Basket tree. Basket tree among the California Indians was an art form, but it was an incredibly useful way of making everything that they needed in terms of storage, sifting, and gathering seeds, cooking, traps. So they had hundreds of them for many different purposes. Different types of baskets were used for different things. Some of them be very loosely woven, like the middle one used for sifting. And then you would get these cooking baskets, some of which were very, very watertight. And if you're not familiar with how they cook food, they use the stirring, they would use hot broth. And they had a stirring stick. They would pick up the hot broth with that stirring stick, put it into the basket that had water and acorn mush, and they would stir it until that broth cooled, take that hot broth out, and another hot broth, and stir it until they got to the consistency they wanted. This way the baskets were not burnt. So yeah, so the sizes on these baskets range from little tiny 1-inch chips to huge 15 baskets. And the Yoruba women were considered to be master basket weavers. That's how it's true of many of the other groups here in California too. They use many plant parts to make them. I think these are just a few. Stems of grasses, from deer grass, alkali, saffron, California brown, rhizomes, roots, young shoots, stalk, bark, from bushes and trees. All of these plants were managed in various ways, including burning, pruning, sowing, thinning, feeding, and selectively harvesting them. And they would have that, a normal village would have hundreds or dozens of baskets in all different stages, because it usually took 2 or 3 years to make a basket, from the beginning, collecting the material, drying it, preparing it, and weaving the basket. It's very much the ongoing process. And these are just a few examples. Again, here's a sifting tray. This is an unfinished cradle for carrying a baby around. Eventually you would have a kind of a rounded top over it, and some ties here to tie the baby in. This is a watertight, what we call bottleneck basket. And this is post contact. You gotta have some yarn around it, but otherwise, my understanding is pretty authentic. And this is a flat 15 basket and a seating basket. And you see these are made from different materials. This one's made from tulle. This one's stag, which I'll be talking about in a moment, redbud, bracken. And so these are all different materials that were used in these. Tear grass was a favorite grass to create structural support of building a basket. And tear grass, you'll see in a lot of people's gardens today. Again, I already mentioned making baskets with a 2 or 3 year effort. The plants were managed by thinning and burning. Tear grass stalks are harvested in the fall when they're easy to pick. Maybe stripped of the outer layer, organized by size, wrapped 16 straight, using twine or strips of deer skin, and allowed to cure for a year. And then when they were ready to start weaving, they would soak them at a minimum 1,600 stalks were needed to make one very small basket. You can see here where they've been straightened out, tied, and here's the process where they started to make a basket, and here's the finished basket. And this one's been made of redbud and bracken fern. As Barbara said, this was the most commonly used stag, and they're not big. They use the rhizomes, which are underground, kind of like roots, but rhizomes are actually underground stems. They were gathered from riparian and wetland habitat and used as lacing material for the basket. Large numbers of women, several times a year, with their digging sticks, would go on digging expeditions to dig up these rhizomes. And it's really cool how they did it. They would uncover the rhizome, only the longest and straightest ones were chosen, which was then cut. Once the rhizomes were removed, the women would take time to remove any stone, sticks, or any other impediment that might cause the rhizome to not grow straight. And then they would very gently replace the disturbed soil and wait 2 or 3 years before it moves back to that spot. And here you can see some rhizomes that are being tied up to drying. There's some other basketry plants, Western bracken fern. You can see a bundle of them here, being dried. And they can cover entire, if anybody's gone hiking up in the foothills in the forest, you'll have seen definite forest, you'll see forest carpeted with bracken fern. The roots were important source for the black material that was used for designing the stick basket. In addition to the basket, they also ate the roots and tender fronds and dried plants for use as bedding material. Milkweed, which many people know is the source of food for our caterpillars. But they were also used for basketry and are used today for basketry. The inner fiber was used in making cordage, fishing lines, and nets. And if you've ever cut a milkweed, you know that it's a latex, white, sticky thing that oozes out from it. What's interesting is they would drop that into boiling water and make a kind of chewing gum. That's pretty cool. Willows, of course, was another source for basketry, and similar methods of collecting it. They were also used for making house frames. Barrels were constructed from thin, dry, straight stems. Larger ones were used for table boards, like the one I showed earlier. Willows would be planted across streams and rivers temporarily to make into weirs, which were temporary dams to trap migrating fish. Once they got the fish they needed and wanted, they would tear down the dam, the weirs. They would make the stirring sticks. I mentioned the stirring sticks earlier. They would put a rock on here and then pick it up and put it into whatever was being cooked in the basket. The catkin, the flour, the male part of the flour, would be used, eaten fresh, or dried and stored. Okay, we have time here. I'm start moving a little faster here. Cattails, the fluff was used as bedding, insulation for tape, diaper material, and tinder for fire. Young soup for harvest. Starchy tubers from underground were boiled and roasted. Weeds and stems to be sewn together to make baskets. And mats and leaves were used as fat in their housing. Soy was another major important grass, and they were used for making boats, like here, and they were used for the framework of their houses. They also used to make duck decoys for hunting, toys, little dolls for the kids. They not only used everything above ground, they would go underground too. So root, corn, with their different kinds of bulbs, rhizomes of bulbs were all used. Here's Brogacia and corn from Brogacia. And I've eaten some of these and that has a nutty flavor, quite good. Wild onion and ethereal spear and the potatoes from their root. Oak fruit is a really cool plant. The bulb could be used as a sealant or glue. The fiber surrounding the oak fruit was widely used to cover around the bulb. The cubes of the bulb would form a lather when mixed with water and be used as a soap. And like the buckeye, when the bulbs were crushed, they were thrown into the pool and used to sunfish. Fibers were used to make ball brushes, like the one that's shown here. Here's the fibers in the left, and then the brushes. And this was getting kind of a glue that they used from the bulb to wrap the fibers. Young seed pods would be roasted and a thread was made from leaves and a fiber that also used in basketry. Leaves were used for many things. I think most people are familiar with white sage that are used in purification ceremonies. These were also used for food. They were, we've all used, they leaves for cooking. They use in the same way for flavoring food and into their acorn greenery and the insect to sell it. These were made for stomach upset, cold, sore throat. The fruit was dried for food. The pit split into two, and they were roast them, eat them whole, and grind them into a powder that made it like a coffee-like drink. And bows and arrows were made from the hard, straight wood. Green, fresh green, especially in early spring after the long winter. Minor lettuce, field mint, and civil mint, not the flower part, but the fresh greenery that would come out in the early spring. All of these were eaten raw, like in a salad that we do today. What go into soup or dried. And other greens include dandelion, clover, nettle, peppermint nettle. And as with any other plant, burning was done to help medicine. Lots of fruits and berries. The California grape, bitter cherry, wild blackberry, strawberry, golden currant. The grape leaves were also used to line the acorn leaching pit, and like I mentioned, the underground luau type pit, they would use grape leaves for that. Bitter cherry, they're bitter, so they wouldn't eat that fruit fresh, but dried and ground for later use for flavoring. Blackberries, of course, were eaten often eaten fresh, same thing with like strawberries and golden currant. A lot of plants, I've already mentioned some of the medicines that they would use from various plants. Wild rose, they would, interesting, they would use young shoots to reduce fever. The young girls would crush them, crush the tip to use the sage as a cosmetic. These were also eaten. Yarrow had many uses. Fresh leaves we chew for pain relief. Rolled and put on the tube for a toothpaste. These were made for cold, fevers, and sleep. Infusion for earaches. Mugwort made of tea that was apparently good for the digestive system, but only in small quantities. They would leave it hot, simmering all day long, a basket, and just take little sips. Most of us consider spurs to be a very annoying weed in our gardens, right? Well, there was a variety of spurs known as rattlesnakes, and it was good for rattlesnake bites. Something good about spurs. Grain from grasses, grain from native grasses were a significant part of their diet, along with acorn. And yoga women were known to collect several hundred pounds of grains in one day, and these would be parched in the ground for tortilla bread. Today, of course, we don't know really what grasses they used, because most of the grasses that were there 250 years ago, 500 years ago, don't exist today. But the invasive grasses that we have today, they will collect seeds from them too, and they prepare them the same way, use them in the same way they did back then. You can see this woman using a big basket with a seed beater, collecting the grain. Along with the acorns and grain for the grasses, seeds from wildflowers. In the grasslands, vernal pools and foothills were also a staple. And spring months, when everything was blooming, they would be collecting all these various seeds that would be pulverized and ground into different flowers and added into various foods with spices and textures. They would also make a pinot with it. And many species were fire followers, so the yokers would burn small patches to encourage more growth. And here's just a very few of the wildflowers that they use. And many of you go hiking up in the foothills during the spring months, you'll be familiar with these. And some of you may have some of these in your garden. So we have red maize, California buttercup, tidy tip, mule beard, carcia, sticky monkey flower, and the California buttercup supposed to make cases like roasted corn, popcorn flower, chia, and the chia that we have here in a little different subspecies from what's down in Mexico, which is the one that we've seen in grocery stores today. But basically it's the same, and it was used the same way. Gold fields, California sunflower, of course sunflower seeds, farewell to spring, another carcia species, and purple hour clover. All of these are good seeds that we use. I have covered just a fraction of all the hundreds of thousands, really, of seed plants used by the Yoket and the other original natives. The many parts of the plant they use and the many ways they were used. And as Mike mentioned beginning, how important native plants are, you can help keeping these plants alive by planting your own garden. And they have these plants evolve with all the different creatures that I mentioned earlier in the program. Bees, butterflies, birds, and anything else within a native plant community. And so by planting them, you help maintain those historical relationships. And also, native plants don't use much water once they're established. Most of them, they need very little maintenance. Less fuel is needed to maintain them, and most of them don't need fertilizer or pesticides at all. So fewer chemicals in our environment, always a good thing. You want to see some native plants, those of you that live here in the Godbout area, Santa Cruz County, you can go to the La Loma Native Plant Garden. Spring is a beautiful time of the year, but it's beautiful any time of the year. You get to understand an idea of what plants look like all year round. Another great place to visit in Northern California is the UC Davis Arboretum. Again, many native plants there, and they have done their research in terms of which plants are best for our environment. I'm sure those of you who are down in Southern California have similar native plant gardens that you can visit in other areas. Here in Modesto, we have representation of the people who live here, the Yokas who live here. By planting native plants, they're also honoring the people who came before us. And today is like a perfect day to honor them. There's a statue in downtown Modesto that is a representation of Jesus Santa Claus, which is what my county is named after. And he was with the Walking Zombie Yoka. He is known for leading armed native revolt against the Mexican government mission establishment and actually winning sometimes. At night, Cerys, which Mike mentioned in the beginning, is a great river grassland habitat outside Oakdale. And there is a really nice little Yoka Miwok memorial there with a map showing some of all the different Miwok and Yoka that live along the Santa Claus River and tributaries. So I always like stopping here and remembering them when I walk by. Places to see native plant habitat. Riparian Gulf Rio State Park is our newest state park. That's only open Fridays to Saturdays, and I suggest going to the website to arrange tours. A great riparian oak woodland, Caswell State Park in Ripon. In the spring, the grassland, the vernal pool is the Great Valley Grassland State Park in Stevenson, which is outside of Spurlock. And just mentioned Night Ferry. Wetlands and marshes would be the wetlands, national wildlife refuge, some river parks and gulf. And walking wildlife refuge. So these are all great places to visit. And again, those of you in other areas in the state, you have similar habitats. You just have to look them up, you'll find them. Places to see the California Indigenous Peoples' way of life, Este, which is also known as Indian Grinding Rock State Park. That is in North Frontier, myriad, in Jackson, up in the Gold Rush foothills. The Miwoks and the Yokas had similar lifestyles, but there were some differences. One was the Miwoks built their houses out of bark. If you ever been to Yosemite National Park, I hope you have stopped at the Wanisi Village there by the museum. And there's also at the Great Valley Museum, they have Central Valley Habitat exhibits there, and the Yokas exhibit. But a caveat on the Yokas exhibit, as you may know, for the past 2 years, various colleges and museums in accordance with state and national laws have been going through their exhibits and collections and ensuring that anything that belongs to the local tribe goes back to them. That's definitely bones and artifacts of indigenous nature. So, like quite a number of museums up and down the state, the various indigenous people exhibits are being covered for the time being until they can be reviewed. So that's the case with the Great Valley Museum, but the habitat is still there. Habitat exhibit. There's some great native plant gardening resources, which Cynthia will put into a chat box for your use. Southgate, which is part of the California Native Plant Society. That's the California Native Plant Society. The second one, Southgate, is another resource. UC Davis has their own resource. UC Integrated Pest Management is a great resource for pests in your garden. Water-wise landscaping, we'll call, which is water use, classification, and landscape species. Excellent water-wise native plant search website where you put in where you live and it'll give you the plants that are do well in your area. And these are various books and references that I have read over the years. All are great, wonderful resources. I don't have time to go through them all, but the real California cuisine, the excellent one, enough for all, and into the wild, these are all. And Kenya Summer is a wonderful book about a young boy who actually lived with a group of Yokas for 10 years, from 1908 to 18. And I put together this program, but I could not have done it without the generous help, support, and I could add knowledge of the following. William Downing, who is Emeritus Professor from the Community College, the Great Valley Museum, was kind of dose of that, and worked there for 18 years before retiring, still involved. Robin Seaton, MCC student and Great Valley Museum volunteer. Susan Kerr, an anthropology professor at MCC. Mary Hayes, geology professor. And finally, Dan Solomon, who is the coordinator for Santa County Master Gardener and my fellow Master Gardener. Very quickly about the Master Gardener program, we have a newsletter, and Cynthia will be putting in the chat link, which is shown right here, that you can access in the chat to sign up for a newsletter or our blog. And there's lots of different articles, information. We have here in Santa Claus County, we go through most of the libraries here in the county with a different topic every month. When we live in this county, this month's topic is composting basics, and these are the different branches, the days and time If you have a gardening issue, you can contact our helpline. And here's the QR code for it. For those of you who are in different counties, if you're a master gardening program, we'll have something similar. And then we also have a YouTube site with various videos. You can subscribe to that. And finally, questions.
Wow, that's a lot of resources. And it just kept going and going.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of questions, but it is not too, we have about 15 minutes officially, but it's not too late. If anybody has any more questions, just go ahead and put them in chat and we'll bring them up. So let's start from the top.
Yeah, Mike, I just want to say something. This is Cynthia. So thank you so much, Denise. That was absolutely fantastic. I'm just stunned at all the uses of the plants. It was amazing. And there's, probably, of course, we don't even know it all. But the thing I wanted to tell everyone is, like Mike said, we have 15 minutes left, 14 minutes now. I always end right on time, which is 8:30 p.m. So we're going to kind of go fast through these questions, but everybody can stay on afterwards. And if Denise still can, then you'll be able to ask more questions. But we do always turn off the recording at 8:30.
Okay, well, if there's any questions that I can't answer, Cynthia, perhaps they can email you and I can get back to them perhaps.
Cool. So the first thing was Elaine was asking about the syphilis being brought to America by the Europeans. And she just had a kind of a question mark there. And
yeah, actually, when I read about that, I wondered that too. And I don't have they might have had their own form of syphilis. I don't know if they had the same form that the Europeans brought over, because I know they brought over their version of it. So yeah, that's a question that I can't answer with 100% certainty. I'm guessing that was probably post-contact and they came up with this particular medicine for taking care of it, or at least managing it somehow.
The next question actually comes with a whole bunch of comments after, because people were trying to help answer. The question was, why did they snare woodpeckers? And someone mentioned feathers for regalia. Another person was asking, what about meat? Did they do meat? Someone said all parts were used somehow, and the last comment was the Southeast Pomo used feathers for excuse me, headdresses and other ceremonial uses. Do you have any other comments?
Yeah, I did not discuss animals because my focus was obviously plants. But yeah, they didn't waste anything really. They used everything. And yeah, it's my understanding they use woodpecker for the feathers, for regalia, for religious purposes, and they use the meat, and they probably have used it for the bones too. So again, these people really didn't waste anything.
More than once, someone brought up the new Dos Rios State Park that just opened up over here in our chapter area, and I was curious if you had anything to say about it. Maybe you know of some things that are going to be happening there or anything like that.
Well, I actually have not yet been there since they opened. The comment that I made as far as going onto their website and getting tours is based upon the feedback I got from other people. I have been there in the past because I used to be a volunteer for the Solomon River Trust, and we did outdoor education programs there. And I also helped plant some of the native plants that are there now, and full weed, non-native things. But again, I've not been there since they opened. And so if you want to go out there, I would strongly suggest, based upon what I've been told, is to contact them. Because apparently to get there, there's really no place you can go on your own. And you need to have a guided tour.
And just for everybody else to know, we actually did one of our webinars actually on the Dos Rios restoration. and it was a fascinating hour. They talk a lot about the process of putting in the native plants and things like that. And you can learn a lot about that new state park on our YouTube channel. Just looking for that the Restoring Dos Rios State Park. Then the next question from Claudia. You've mentioned many medical uses of these plants, but are there resources describing if and how these plants have evolved into modern medicines?
A classic one would be salicylic acid from willow trees. That's aspirin. Yeah, so we have, and that's the one that comes to my mind right off the top of the bat. But I am sure that science has found other chemicals and incorporate them into modern medicine today. But that would certainly be a classic salicylic acid from willow, but the bark of willow.
And Kay said that she'd love to know who the current.
My husband's saying something to me. Oh, echinacea flowers, yeah. Echinacea also is used for ethics, right? Yeah, echinacea has used it too. Right now I'm going blank, but yeah.
Kay asked, she'd love to know who the current Yokuts practitioners are and how to learn more from them.
That's a good question. I am more actually, there are not that many Yokuts left. And I've only met a few of them, and it's been a few years since I have been able to be in contact with some of them. And I was hoping to reach them, one person in particular, before this talk, but that's still a work in progress. So there really is no one person that you can contact. Like Glad I do know of somebody, but I don't want to give his name until he gives me permission to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I really can't answer that question with, there are books out there that talk about the yokas. But as far as an actual person, I unfortunately cannot give you a name at this point. I am going to be giving this talk again for the Modesto Garden Club, who will once again person next month. I'm hoping to be able to have a name by then. But right now, unfortunately, I don't.
Cool. Now this one was sent to me, it's from Diana. There used to be a very native old woman, perhaps her name was Mary, who did tours in the garden behind the visitor center in Yosemite. She classified plants into male and female. She wouldn't touch the male plants like Calisanthus or Philadelphus, which were used to make arrows. So I guess, do you have any comments on that?
I have actually, I'm familiar with that. There was I don't know about the yoga, she's talking about the Awanichi, but I do know that there was, for the most part, a very strict division between what the women did and what the men did. Women generally tended to the plant. The men tended to hunting and weapons and fishing. There would be times when they would all come together. Men were actually involved, and we for the yoga, men were involved in the cooking too. But for the most part, there was a very strict separation in terms of their duties. As far as what Diane was talking about, I don't know if that was true with the yoga.
And then Lorraine asked, I've been told that mugwort is an antidote to poison oak. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I thought that's what I mentioned mugwort being an antidote to poison oak. I thought I did.
Maybe that's where she heard it.
Yeah, very small, yeah.
There was
very
a
small doses. And you would have to spread it out. Just a little bit now, and maybe a couple of hours later, and a little bit more.
There was a slide where you had a slide of your book references again. Could you go back to that slide?
Okay. Here we go.
Okay, so you could just take a screenshot of this would be Julia. And then it'll be in the recording as well. Cynthia pointed out. The field of pharmacognosy studies medicines from plant resources. Oh, that was what you were saying. And then check out Taki Yakut's online through Google. That's what Elaine said. Then let's see. I'm just kind of reading these cold now. Bianca said, I've recently found out Artemisia in a product for stomach issues. Mary said, appreciate this program and the ability to screenshot slides. I'm also intrigued how the Spanish version is provided. Thank you. And that's something we're really happy to be able to start doing. But again, today was literally our test. This was our first try at this. So there may have been a few hiccups, and but we'll get better at it. And thank you, Misty, for everything you did to make that
I think
work.
you guys did a great job.
Yeah. I think that's about it. So Cynthia, did you have any other last questions?
Yeah, hey everyone, really thanks for coming. And of course, Denise, an unbelievable presentation. As I've told you many times in the chat, it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, CNPS. Oops, my attention on my video. North San Joaquin Valley NSJP _CNPS, and I typically do that within a few days. I will also point links to the slides and Spanish slides and all that kind of stuff. I'm not yeah, it might take a little while to get those things up. This file was so big that it was really hard to get it up to Google Drive. I would really love it. This is our first version of doing Spanish, and I'm pretty sure no one else at CNPS has done this because I was the first person to request that the Spanish translation chat be turned on, and I think the translation is fantastic. I mean, I speak some Spanish, and it's amazing. And there's like 50 other languages too, so we can start bringing in people that aren't that good at English speakers, which is really exciting. If you have some comments about the Spanish capability, please put it in the chat. We would love to get some feedback. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm now going to turn off the recording, but everybody can stay, and you can ask more questions or whatever you want to do. All right, bye. Oh, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And Misty. Thank you very much.
Hey, Rachel Dyer's in the audience. I haven't talked to Rachel in a long time. And she's got additional resources that she's posted there in chat. So if you want to see what she's got a lot of good stuff that you can just go ahead and drag and click.
Take a look at that.
Okay, I'm turning off the recording.